So after over a year or so, we're finally getting a new Geo character with Navia, so today we'll be seeing if she's worth your time and investment, and if you're interested and already know you're pulling for her, then a brief build guide at the end. Now since Navia is new, we only know select bits of information due to her being new, but by the looks of it we know a couple of vital things about her kit. Her normal attack is standard with all other claymores, dealing physical damage, so nothing remarkable there. The second thing being that the majority of her damage will be coming from her elemental skill, in which relies on that results of a crystallized reaction, and which Navia can hold up to 6 of these in total. With her tap, 1 shard from the crystallized reaction will be used. With her charge skill takes 3 charges total. More shards can be used, which will result in more shots being fired. For example, 3 charges would mean 11 shots fired or thereabouts, along with any additional charges being used to buff the damage of her skill further by 15% for each additional charge. Luckily, her burst is somewhat more simple in comparison to her skill, with the burst unleashing geo damage and providing even more damage for a currently unknown duration after at the time of scripting. Along with this is if any of the cannon attacks are able to hit an enemy, Navia will be able to gain 1 charge of crystal shrapnel. However, this can only be triggered every 2.4 seconds and has a 12-second overall duration and 15-second cooldown with an energy cost of 60. This means she can get 5 crystal charges from her burst alone, but since her burst is able to apply geo, then if you have a character of another element in your team and attack with them, you are able to gain even more shards as attacks with create crystals from the reaction. Now onto other things of note concerning her kit, starting with her accessions. Her first ascension passive at level 20 allows her weapon-based attacks such as normal attacks to be infused with geo for 4 seconds after her skill is used. Along with this, the damage done by such attacks will be increased by 40%. As for her second accession passive at level 70, each party member who is Pyro, Cryo, Electro or Hydro, so basically anyone who is an Anemo or Dendro, to buff Navia's attack by 20%. But this can only be stacked twice, which leads to a 40% attack buff. Now onto her constellations. Lately a lot of characters have been said to need their constellations to be able to function better, with characters such as Navia needing his first constellation to avoid interruptions to his slow charging main attack unless you have a strong shielder. Now, we don't really know how badly Navia will need her constellations just yet, but here's what we know concerning her constellations thus far. Her C1 allows for her to gain 3 energy for each crystal charge she consumes upon using her skill, and also reduces the cooldown of her burst by 1 second, with an overall maximum of 9 energy can be regenerated with this constellation, along with her burst being reduced by 3 seconds. This further allows for more uptime with more crystal charges, equaling even more damage. Now for her C, to each charge of crystal shrapnel that is used will increase crit rate of her skill by 12% with 3 charges, allowing for an increase of 36% crit rate. Along with this is when her skill hits an enemy, and additional hit from her cannon will fall in the same spot. Her C3 is nice and simple, as it increases the level of her skill by 3. As for her C4, it involves when Navia's skill hits an enemy, the enemy's resistance to geo damage will be decreased by 20% for 8 seconds. Her C5 is luckily again nice and simple, with it increasing the level of her burst by 3. Now finally for her C6, which increases her crit damage. If more than 3 crystal charges of her skill are used, then her crit damage of that shot will be increased by 45%, with the max 6 shards allowing for a 135% crit damage increase, and all shards beyond the first 3 will be refunded to her. Now, is she worth it overall? Now, while she isn't the most overpowered, she is pretty decent when it comes to her skill and burst, who is most likely best fit as a sub DPS on a quick swap based team due to her uptime capabilities, but she can be played however you like at the end of the day. Now we understand how she works, even if it may be somewhat complicated depending on who you are. Personally, I found it a little complicated. Haha, what about you? Let me know in the comments. We can now figure out how she could be built to best utilize her kit, so if you're still looking to pull for her, then let us begin. Now starting off with weapons, as I always do. Of course her best in slot will be the weapon she is running, with that being Consider Judgment, because of its increase of attack and elemental skill buffs upon your party picking up shards from crystallized. However, it's always good to have a backup plan if Navia comes late or you don't get the right weapon, so the best choices, at least 5-star wise, are Red Horn Stone Thresher or the Beacon of the Reed Sea, but considering it hasn't rerun in a while and there's no way to get Dahia's weapon. Your next best options are Wolf's Gravestone or Then Forged. Now as for 4 stars, her best ones would be the Serpent Spine, or the upcoming event Claymore. Damn, that name's long. Anyways, it's the ultimate Overlord's Mega Magic Sword. You could also consider the Talking Stick or Prototype Archaic are also good. I do kind of feel bad for the free-to-play players pulling for her. I am so sorry, coming from a free-to-play player myself, but hey, there's hope with the new event Claymore, right? As for artifacts, the best set for her got another long name. The new set Whispers in the Echoing Woods will be beneficial to her as it provides 18% attack, which is great because of her scaling off of attack, and the 4-piece giving additional geo damage bonus when under a crystallized shield. You could also try Golden Troop or Marichess Hunter, as you may already have some pieces, and if not, you have time to farm. If you want, build her immediately, but you will need Freena for Marichess to work. And for substats, focus on the usual with attack, crit rate, crit damage, and geo damage bonus. Talent-wise, the best course of action would probably be her skill first, as it will be used the most, then her burst, and finally normal attack. Now finally for team comps, she'll work well with quick swap teams and crystallized teams, which is probably the best place to put her to make proper use of her. One example of this is a double Pyro and double Geo comp consisting of Navia, Bennett, Jangling, and Albedo, but considering he hasn't Raren in a while, you could put Ningguang or Zhongli here instead. Another team you could try, especially for all those players who got Freena and are planning to go for Navia, then you could try a comp with both of them together along with having Charlotte and Zhongli, or if you don't have Charlotte or Zhongli, you could try Mika and Albedo. Overall, she works best with any off-field applicator of any element that can be crystallized along with an additional Geo character due to the reduced resistance of Geo damage. That's it. I hope this video was helpful. I know it's longer than my usual guides, but I wanted to experiment with longer guides, and well, with that, I'll see you later. Bye.